Today we're going to be talking about your consulting identity.
'Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
Welcome to your Consulting Business Podcast. My name is Russell Pearson. This is episode number 17. And today we're going to be talking about your consulting identity. What does that mean? How does it play a role in what you do for a living? And we'll get into that in just a moment. I thought I'd actually do this. It's a slightly reflective subject today, especially given the time we're doing it, which is sort of across the Christmas period. Most people are trying to stay away from business development. That is a subject that we're actually going to be talking about coming up, about how you can really build up your pipeline. And what are the consistent actions that you would be doing on a regular basis to get more clients in, or the better clients, or higher fees, or better contracts, or whatever it is for you in your consulting business. But today I thought I'd actually talk about the subject of identity, because it is a huge one when it comes to helping you grow your business or your practice. And there are some really fundamental differences between those two worlds. And I'll touch on that first, but then I want to also talk about you specifically and the role that you play in a business, because it's incredibly important. How you see yourself will actually very much define your natural or flow style activities that actually play a role into your business. So this is not woo-woo stuff. This is not even really heavy psychology. This is just how you're seeing yourself will actually define the actions that you take, and this is something that John Maxwell talks about a lot. Talk about the rule of fives, the 5 things that you'll be doing on a regular basis. We will touch more on that as well. But let's start by actually talking about the actual: am I running a consulting business or am I running a consulting practice? Now, this is an interesting one because a lot of people will see themselves as running a consulting business, when in actual fact, running a business means that ideally the business is the profitable enterprise that runs without you, right? That's a really nice definition for it. The practice is really a profitable enterprise that runs around you. So you're still going to continue to play a technical part in the business, in that practice model. And with the business, ideally you want to replace you to the point of actually getting to owner, where it's just you in the business. Now, you can actually start a business and be an owner from the start, but it means that you're not playing a role, whether it be management, technical, production, anything really, in the organizational chart outside of the ownership, and potentially putting a CEO in place, right? So, ownership versus practice, it's interesting. You actually look at the words, and it's the words themselves that actually lend to identity. Am I a business owner? All right, well, think about, if you want to see yourself as an owner, if you want to be an owner, then think about the things that you own, right? You probably own a car, right? You might mortgage a car, but you might rent a car. But like for those who own a car, if you own a car, my question will be, all right, did you build the car? And in most cases, it's going to be no. Now, I know some friends are great at building cars and then pulling them down, putting them back together again. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, on the mass, on the averages. Did you build the car? And usually it's no, I didn't build the car. So the owner, you bought a thing for a use. All right, I didn't build the car. All right, do you create the fuel that goes in the car? No, I don't. I buy that fuel to go in the car. Okay, that's interesting too. There's a level of ownership in that as well. There's an operating ownership piece there. So you're an operator as well. So if you didn't drive, so if you drive the car, you're an operator. So you're an operator of the car. So if you're driving the business, you're a business operator. A business owner would be someone who probably more like leases a car out. All right, this is the car that I own. I bought it for the purpose of leasing it out. Someone else operates it. Someone else puts the petrol in it. Someone else maintains it. And that's another piece too. As an owner of a car, do you maintain? Do you actually do the mechanical servicing on your car? Well, in most cases, you'll probably go and get someone as a third party to do that for you. These are different elements, and then the words are critical. And so I would literally suggest that you go and look up certain words that you're thinking of taking on as part of your identity and go, what do they actually mean? Because what they actually mean plays a massive role into how we act. So if we act like a business owner, all right, we're going to spend money to make money, or spend money to get something back in return, because that's what owning a thing is. You buy a thing to have a thing, all right? But often you're not going to operate it, you're not going to own it. You might operate it, all right? You might, maintain it, right? You might maintain it. There's certain activities that you'll do as an owner that you wouldn't do as the person who created the car. So the mechanic is the maintainer of the car. The manufacturer is the person who makes the car. And so if you're building a business, all right, you're starting from scratch and you're building a business, then you're a builder, all right? So there's an identity in builder. And it's an interesting wordplay that's not just a game. It becomes really critical into how you actually start perceiving things. Because on one side, you've got owner, all right? So that's right up here. You've got business operator. You've got a business practice. Now, what does practice mean? All right, so practice means, there's practice makes perfect, right? There is, I am doing a thing on a consistent basis, ideally improving at the thing that I'm doing and getting better, right? That's a practice. So the practice is a case of I'm practicing business, right? Or I'm practicing law. And here's the key too. So this is a marketing one. This is really good for marketing. Let's say that you've got a broad audience like business owners, because it is a massively broad audience. It is much more effective to go, do they see themselves as a business owner first, or do they see themselves as, let's say, an accountant, or they see themselves as a therapist, or they see themselves as a mechanic, right? Often, the person that you're going to work with, they see themselves as a mother, they see themselves as a father, they see themselves as an employee, right? How they see themselves is really the language that you should be using when you're trying to engage them. So that's why niche-based campaigns are so effective. If we're going broad, let's say that we did want to work with business owners, often a person who sees themselves, let's say, as an accountant first, they go, well, I'm an accountant. I guess I'm a business owner, but I'm an accountant. And so if you want to get niche, if you want to get specific, if you want to get streamlined and save a lot of energy and time to actually engage the right audience, my suggestion would be to, all right, let's reduce the focus on who we're after and say, instead of women over the age of 35, right, which I've seen a lot of people say, which is like a quarter of the entire planet, how do we actually go and specify specifically, that's redundant, but how do we specify who exactly we're trying to get in front of and how they see themselves? How do they see themselves in this picture? Are you a mother? Is a really specific thing. Now, it's a very big audience, but a lot of people who are in that position will see themselves as a mother. Even after the kids have gone. Are you a busy mother? All right, specifies it down to, like, I'm busy at being a mother. All right, so all these things matter when it comes to communication and marketing, and they matter for the psychology up here. So the real point I wanted to get into today was, how do you see yourself from a consulting point of view? Do you see yourself as a consultant? Do you see yourself as an advisor, as a coach, as a technical expert, whether it be an accountant or engineer or whatever it might be? How do you see yourself as an identity? A lot of people think of themselves as guides. All right, there's another one. But it's interesting to take the word that you perceive as the most relevant to you, the one you have the most, connection to, and go and look that word up. Because in the process of looking that up, you'll start to see, all right, what does that mean? And what I'll do, let me actually just, while we're having a chat here, those who are listening on the podcast aren't going to see my eyes change or anything, but I'm going to actually go and look up this. So we got, I'm going to look in consulting definition, and we'll go, all right. So consulting as a definition, all right? So we've got it as an adjective and we've got it as a verb. Let's go with it as a verb in a doing thing. So seek information or advice. So I'm consulting to, so I'm asking for someone's advice. So I'm consulting to them. On the flip side, have discussions with someone, typically before undertaking a course of action. So it's discussions. So the consultant discusses, right? Another one is refer to information, a book, a diary, a watch, so you're referring to something. So people refer to consultants. And so you find all these little nuances in the words. And so let's put advice or we'll put advisor. So the advisor is a person who gives advice on a particular field. So like it's saying that you have a speciality. And then we're going to look up advice, a different spelling there, advice, guidance or recommendations offered with regard to prudent future action, a formal notice of a financial transaction. So again, in that case, it's remittance advice. So a formal notification. So it's a formal focus. Recommendations offered is what advice is. So again, that's the interesting thing with advice, is that giving advice doesn't mean people are going to take the advice, because it's recommendations offered, right? Offered usually to prudent and future actions. It doesn't mean they're going to actually take it. So for some people, you won't want to be an advisor because you actually want to do the work, right? You want to actually do the after work, as they call it in the consulting space. You've given advice, and now what? All right, if you might see yourself as a strategist. So let's look up strategy. There's a lot of people who see themselves as strategists. I was one of them for a while. Strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. All right, so if you're a strategist, you work on aims, you work on outcomes, you work on goals, and it's about creating plans of action designed to achieve those things. Now they're saying that it's focused on long term, and that's interesting. That's an interesting definition that they put there in the dictionary around whether it's focused on long term, short term, or anything in between. A plan for directing over. Oh, this is actually specifically to the military. We'll get into that in a second. The art of planning and directing overall military operations and movements in a war or battle. All right, so even taking that perspective, that lens, we can actually start to see that it's about directing an overview of the different movements of things. And so it is really useful for, I think, you to go and review that and say, all right, does that resonate with me? Is that what I'm doing? And if it is, the way to be successful as that thing is not just going to be about money. All right, money is a long-term quantifier of a lag measure. It's a lag measure of what's going on. You get money usually for actions that you're doing here, but you go, all right, so what is a consultant? All right, a consultant is someone who is consulted, and so they are referred to. So you receive these referrals, you're referred, is a large part of the consulting space. Now, I push back on that because I go, all right, well, that is one part of it, but there are, like in the idea of the rule of fives, there are 4 other things that you do as well. You don't just consult. They have discussions with people, all right, which means we need to be talking to people. All right, that needs to be something that we're doing, usually around a field of expertise. So there is a field of expertise where we have to continually get better and remain in those expertise. All right, so we've got talking to people, having those discussions. We've got being referred and actually referring out. We have a range of, probably experts around us that we would refer to. We have the field of expertise that we are in. But what other things does a consultant do to know that it is doing the work of a consultant? And I would imagine that it is looking at the trends and the spaces and the areas that it's working in, so that not only does it understand the expertise of the role that it's playing, or he or she is playing, that what context that environment is actually that their advice or their consulting is going to be referred into. All right, so understanding the world around them, understanding the environment that they're in, right? And at the other end, they need to be doing all those 3 things, but they need to be consulting, right? They need to be paid for it. So to be a professional consultant, you need to be paid for your consulting. All right, that is another definition for it. So I like to look at these areas and go, all right, if I'm trying to become the best in this space, then I want to take the specific word and say, this is who I want to be, or this is who I am, right? And say, what does that mean? What does the dictionary say it means? What do multiple dictionaries say it means? What does Wikipedia or all these other references say it means? So you can see it from different perspectives with different lenses and go, all right, then if this is the case, if this is what these things are, number one, do I still want to be that thing? All right, fantastic. Then where are models of excellence? Where are places where I can see this working at the top level? How do I see the best example of this? And some people will want to go, all right, well, this is the best example of someone who gets paid the most, right, as a consultant. That is certainly one measurement. If that's what you want to be, you want to be the best paid consultant or the highest paid consultant. But often in this business in particular, it's not just about the money, because once you hit a certain level of money, it's like, okay, good, I'm comfortable. I've got the money that I need. But then from there, what do I want to do? Like who do I want to help? Like, I have these magic tricks. I have these things that I can bring out and that I can use. I have this understanding of the world because it's part of what I do. I have this real deep expertise in the ability to consult in this space. So I've got these things. I have this real value. Who do I want to give this to? Who do I want to help in their next steps? Because defining that and defining who you want to help, who you want to work with, actually moves you far forward into the lifestyle business that most people I speak to are really looking for, enabling them to have choices, enabling them to do what they do. Now, it's interesting to also look in the other areas of your life and take stock there as well. And so while you might be a professional consultant or advisor or strategist or engineer or accountant or whatever it might be, there are other areas of your life too. You know, what does it mean to be a father? What does it mean to be a mother, a sister, a brother? You know, what does it mean to be a son and a daughter, or anything in between, right? What does it mean to be? Well, let's take any value that you're actually considering as values that you hold dear. A lot of people push on the why. Most people know I'm a bit cynical of Simon, right? So Simon Sinek's starting with why. I don't think it's about starting with why, right? I don't think it has to be that. I think that is a really nice place to be, where you're going, all right, now what? Where do I want to spend my time and attention? You know, what's the purpose of the things I'm doing? And I think who is much better. It's a much better question. Who do I want to help? You know, where do I want to leave my legacy? Where do I want to leave my value? Who is that? But there'll be also the opportunity for you to look at your own values. And there's a really good rule of thumb that I was taught by a mentor of mine. Her name is Alice. Hello, Alice, if you ever see this. A definition for what does make a value and what doesn't make a value. So what does make a value is any word that can have an ing or an I really like the definition of this. So you got to be able to add ing or to the end of it, because then it makes it a value in action. And it's a value you can identify as. So to give you some examples, communication. All right, you can be a communicator, which is the identity, and you can be communicating in, which is communicating, which is the action. All right, so it means that you can put it into action. Yet I see so many companies looking at integrity as a word that they have very high in their values, but you can't be an integritier. You can't be you can't do integrity-ing, right? So it means very difficult to put anything you can't add ing into a solid KPI, something that we can quantifiably go, that happened or that didn't happen. Very difficult to do. So I love the qualifier of values really need an or an ing, because it's like, who are we being? That's the and what are we doing? Which is the ing. And just a really useful, relevant piece for you. So you may see communication as part of your identity. All right, fantastic. So what does it mean to be a communicator, right? What does it mean to be communicating? Look up those words, actually look at the dictionary and look at the definitions, and then actually use John Maxwell's rule of 5. So if I'm a great communicator, what are the 5 things that I'm doing on a daily basis that make me a great communicator? You know, it's not what will I like to do, but what am I doing that is actually going to say that I am a good communicator, a great communicator, a world-class communicator. So you got communication, you got planning. Planning's another one. You're a good planner. All right, I'm planning. All right, so I'm a planner. What does it mean to be a planner? Speaking to someone else the other day, they're in the event space, And while they're an organizer and they're a coordinator, but really they're a facilitator. And looking at the definitions between those different words, you see some real nice nuance where facilitation it's enabling the event to happen. And actually the steps that you would use as a facilitator in that space are actually quite different than a coordinator or a planner. The planner puts the things together but doesn't necessarily execute. The facilitator makes it happen. The coordinator gets other people to do what they need to do. So there are different elements. And I think now more than ever, especially with things like AI coming out, with communication being so binary, around the world, understanding the definitions of some of these words and therefore the identity behind them is critical. So I invite you to go and have a look at these things in your own professional life. Until the next episode, I wish you all I think you've just had Christmas, right? By the time this episode actually comes out. So I hope you have a great holiday season. I hope you have a great new year. Whether you have a break or you're still working through, I hope you get some time to actually spend with your loved ones. If you're looking for more from me, definitely subscribe to wherever you find this podcast or this YouTube video. If you are listening to the podcast, go check out the YouTube channel. If you like this in your listening ears, go and get it at your favorite podcast platform. Let me know if you can't find it there, because I will go and get it there. We've got to go and put it in some places. Sometimes it doesn't actually come up instantly. I know somebody told me that Google didn't have it there, so we went and actually got it put there. So hopefully it's there now. And you can also go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com. There are some resources there you can absolutely get for free. Would love you to engage in those. And if you've got any questions, make sure you ask. Ask in the YouTube comments. Contact me direct. russellpearson.com is certainly where you can find me. But you can also connect with me through just about every social media there is. So would love to hear more from you and actually find out how you see yourself in the business that you're running, whether it be as an owner or as a practitioner, right? The person who is in the business yet has a profitable enterprise around them. The person who is the business owner, who's ideally not in the business. Usually I'm talking to the practice managers, right? So not the practice managers, but those who run a practice. They're the technical expert. They're the practitioner, right? That's usually who we focus on, and that's actually where the Forge Business Program is focused. So if anyone hasn't heard of the Forge Business Program, that's where I help people do 3 major steps. Number 1 is really get the foundation of their sales. So they may have pivoted from one thing to another. They really want to get that sales engine running. They want to have it running effectively, so they're getting better clients at higher fees. The second step is having that happen consistently. So having a pipeline of consistent clients that are coming through as you need them, so you're not having that momentum loss and sort of going up and down. I know a lot of you have experienced the roller coaster ride of sales in the past. We eliminate that in the Forge. That's the whole idea. And then finally, building it into a business if that's what you want. If you wanted to build it to a business where you could actually step away from it, you could sell it, or you could just allow it to run profitably without you, that's one of the places that we can actually help you take your business or your practice, right? So until next time, my name is Russell Pearson. Stay passionate, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us on Your Consulting Business Podcast. Make sure to click the subscribe button for future updates, and also make sure to go to consultingbusinesspodcast.com for goodies made especially for you by yours truly. I will see you on the site.